All right. Hi, Jaguars and other fourth graders. So this is a new thing that I'm going to try to make your independent work a little bit more efficient. Normally when I come in and help, a big part of how I spend my time is rereading the story. I want to focus on just helping you guys write. So in order to help you focus on writing more, I am going to read the story in this video and you can listen to it and then we will write. So this is the story for your Unit 2, Day 4, and I'm going to be helping you do your independent work with the we do and the I do, or the you do. So first, for your we do, I am going to read Thunderbird and Whale for you. There are 2 Thunderbird and Whale stories, so listen for a part 1 and a part 2. If you can see the screen, you can feel free to follow along. All right, Thunderbird and Whale. These 2 legends come from the Quileute. The first was related by Jack Ward of La Push, Washington. He had learned it from his father, who died in 1945 at the age of about 98. The second is a blending of fragments told by 2 informants, one of whom explained that Thunderbird represented good and Killer Whale represented evil. So this is part 1, the first story. Long ago, as long as 2 men can live, there was a sad time in the land of the Quileute. For days and days, great storms blew. Rain and hail, and then sleet and snow came down upon the land. The hailstones were so large that many of the people were killed. The other Quileute were driven from their coast villages to the great prairie, which was the highest part of their land. There, the people grew thin and weak from hunger. The hailstones had beaten down the ferns and the camas and the berries. Ice locked the rivers so that men could not fish. Storms rocked the ocean so that fishermen could not go out in their canoes for deep-sea fishing. Soon, the people had eaten all the grass and roots on the prairie. There was no food left. As babies and children died without food, even the strongest and bravest of their fathers could do nothing. They had called upon the Great Spirit for help, but no help had come. At last, the great chief of the Quileute called a meeting of his people. He was old and wise. In his youth, he had been the bravest of the warriors, the swiftest of the runners, the fiercest of a fierce tribe. "Take comfort, my people," said the great chief to his people. "We will call again upon the Great Spirit for help. If no help comes, then we will know that it is his will that we die. If it is not his will that we live, then we will die bravely, as brave Quileute have always died. Let us talk with the Great Spirit." So the weak and hungry people sat in silence while the chief talked with the Great Spirit, who had looked kindly upon the Quileute for hundreds and hundreds of years. When his prayer had ended, the chief turned again to his people. "Now we will wait for the will of the one who is wise and all-powerful." The people waited. No one spoke. There is nothing but silence and darkness. Then the people heard another noise. Soon there came a great noise, and flashes of lightning cut through the darkness. Then the people heard another noise, a deep whirring sound, as if the beat of giant wings came from the place of the setting sun. All the people turned their eyes toward the sky above the ocean as a huge bird-shaped creature flew toward them. The bird was larger than any they had ever seen. Its wings from tip to tip were twice as long as a war canoe. It had a huge curving beak, and its eyes glowed like fire. The people saw that its great claws held a giant whale, a living giant whale. In silence, they watched Thunderbird, for so the bird was named by everyone, carefully lowered the whale to the ground before them. Thunderbird then flew high into the sky, gave one earth-reaching cry, and went back to the thunder and lightning it had come from. Perhaps it flew back to its perch in the hunting grounds of the Great Spirit. Thunderbird and whale saved the Quileute from dying. The people knew that the Great Spirit had heard their prayer. Even today, they never forget that visit of Thunderbird. Never forget that it ended long days of hunger and death. For on the prairie near the village are big round stones that the old grandfathers say are the hardened hailstones of that storm long ago. So this is now part 2. So the second legend, the second version of the myth. Thunderbird is a very large bird with feathers as long as a canoe paddle. When he flaps his wings, he makes the thunder and the great winds. When he opens and shuts his eyes, he makes the lightning. In stormy weather, he flies through the skies, flapping his wings and opening and closing his eyes. Thunderbird's home is a cave in the Olympic Mountains, and he wants no one to come near it. If hunters get so close that he can smell them, he makes the thunder noise, and he rolls ice out of his cave. The ice rolls down the mountainside, and when it reaches a rocky place, it breaks into many, many pieces. The pieces rattle as they roll farther down into the valley. All the hunters are so afraid of Thunderbird and his noise and his rolling ice that they never stay long near his home. No one ever sleeps near his cave. Thunderbird keeps his food in a dark hole at the edge of a big field of ice and snow in the Olympic Mountains. His food is the whale. Thunderbird flies out to the ocean, catches a whale, and hurries back to the mountains to eat it. One time, whale fought Thunderbird so hard in the battle, trees were torn up by their roots. Even to this day, there are no trees in Beaver Prairie because whale once fought so hard to keep from being killed and eaten. At the time of the Great Flood, Thunderbird fought a long, long battle with Killer Whale. He would catch Killer Whale in his claws and start with him to the cave in the mountains. Killer Whale would escape and return to the water. Thunderbird would catch him again, all the time flashing lightning from his eyes and flapping his wings with a terrible noise. Mountains were shaken by the noise, and trees were uprooted in the struggles. Again and again, Killer Whale escaped. Again and again, Thunderbird seized him. Many times, they fought in different places in the mountains. At last, Killer Whale escaped to the middle of the ocean, and Thunderbird gave up the fight. That is why killer whales live in the deep ocean today. That is why there are many prairies in the midst of the forests on the Olympic Peninsula. The prairies are the places where Thunderbird and Killer Whale fought so hard that they uprooted trees. Okay, guys, so that concludes Thunderbird and Whale for your WeDo. Make sure that you've listened to this and now you are ready to get started writing your race response about what types of conflict you notice in the story.